Welcome to Wiring Methods lab number 4. In this lab, we're going to be installing a split receptacle with a single pole switch controlling the bottom half of it. The home run is coming into the receptacle, so we're going to have sort of a similarity with the last one we did. We're going to have to run a neutral down into the switch box that's not going to be used, and we're going to need a black and a red wire to use as our hot and our traveler moving to that switch. So in starting this installation, we're going to begin by looking at our box where our receptacle is going to go. We have our switch and we have our receptacle. Now our receptacle in this situation, we're going to have a receptacle that has a broken tab between the two screws on the hot side. The short side is the hot side, the ungrounded side of the receptacle, and we want to have a receptacle that we have broken that tab on, and that is electrically separating the top half of the receptacle from the bottom half of the receptacle. Now our neutral side, we can leave that intact because our neutral side, both of those are going back to the same place. We're only breaking the hot, right? When we talk about when we're have a light or a receptacle, if it is switched, we are only breaking the hot side. And so since we're only breaking the hot side, it's the same thing here. We're breaking this tab, and that's going to allow us to bring power all the time to our top receptacle, and then our bottom receptacle we will feed from the switch, and it will only be on part of the time. So how are we going to accomplish this? All right, so we have a couple of things to do here. First thing that we've got is our grounds. Our ground is already tied together and tied into the bottom, and then we will go ahead and wrap that in a clockwise manner around our grounding screw and tighten that down. All right, now we have to provide a neutral for this receptacle. So I could feed that through on this receptacle, but because we're going to be wiring together some hot wires already, I'm going to do the same thing with our neutral. And so I'm going to take a 6-inch scrap of wire, strip back 3/4 of an inch, put those 3 wires together and give them a good clockwise twist to where we are mechanically bonding these wires together, right? Trim off that end. Now I can let go of that. They're not coming apart on their own. They've been mechanically bonded. Put a wire nut on. We're making sure that that we have cut that to our length so that our wire nut completely covers it. Strip off 3/4 of an inch. Twist a hook onto it and install that in a clockwise manner. I'm going to take my strippers and get in there, pull that hook tight. Now the bare part of this copper is underneath the screw. The rest of the insulated portion of this wire is not underneath the screw. The insulation portion of this wire has not been cut back so far that it is behind the receptacle. Tighten down on that set screw. Now we have the hot side of the receptacle, and so we want the top of this receptacle to be on all the time. And so I'm going to do the same thing that I just did with that white wire with our black wire, our ungrounded conductor. I'm going to take all 3 of these wires and I'm going to carefully twist them together. These have already been twisted before, and so they're a little delicate. I don't want to break them. We're going to get them twisted together. If I did break them off, I would cut them back, strip them back, and start again. We've got those together. They're mechanically bonded together. Install a wire nut. Strip back approximately 3/4 of an inch of wire. Bend that over. Bend my hook over. Now I'm going to come around the back side of this receptacle to the top, wrapping this wire around in a clockwise manner the top part of our receptacle, and then tightening down our lock screw. This may be the last time this receptacle gets used. These screws have been stripped out for multiple uses. We're trying to take care with these devices as they have to be used multiple times. Now, the top half of our receptacle is now on. Now we need to get the bottom half of the receptacle. We need to get power to it. So we have our black wire is running power to our switch at the moment. We don't have a switch here. And then we'll come back from the switch up the red wire to the bottom half of this receptacle. Let's go ahead and install that while we're here at the receptacle. So we're going to do the same thing that we have been doing. We're going to wrap it around in a clockwise manner, keeping it under the screw. We'll tighten this down. You can see here my insulation it's almost to the back of this receptacle. That's almost trimmed back a little too far. But as I tighten this down in a clockwise manner, it's gonna, if I tighten that down, it actually pulled it in a little bit. And that's why we do it in the clockwise direction, because as we do it in clockwise direction, it actually sucks that wire in underneath the screw instead of trying to push it out. So now then, our bottom half is going to be controlled by that switch. And so now we're going to come over to our switch leg. First thing we're going to do, going to take our white wire, put a wire nut on it, tuck that in the back of the box. We do not need that. That's for future use, for some sort of, internet capable device or a motion detector. And we're going to wrap our ground around the ground wire. We're going to tighten down that ground screw. I'm going to flip this over here. We're going to take our black and our red. They've already been stripped. These wires have been used already. We're trying to be careful with these. Bend a hook in each of these. And then I'm going to wrap that black wire around the first set screw. Use my pliers to pull that in a little bit because I don't want that little nub sticking up and breaking the plastic, chipping the plastic. Tightening that down. Once again, the insulation is not under the screw. My tag is not sticking out beyond the back of the receptacle. These are things that I know a harp on those. These are things I'm going to be grading on. These are things that the inspector is going to see. These are things that are signs of sloppy workmanship. Right, so now we have the second one done, and now I'm able to I can now plug our light in to the top receptacle. It is on all the time. And when I plug it into the bottom receptacle, it is now switched. And that's what we were looking for out of this lab. Once you've finished and I've graded it, bring it to me for grading. Once you're satisfied with it, once it's been graded, I'll hand it back to you. Then you can break it all back down.